Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to day two of Integrate. I think we've all said here in the audience a little bit that we've had a few faces that are looking fresher than others, but that's pretty much to be expected on day two of Integrate for any of us that have been there before. But what a great day. We've got our sunshine back from after having a little bit of rain last night here in Sydney, and have an exciting day ahead with day two. And today we're here for this talk track to talk a little bit about new priorities for the workplace and really looking at how new strategies and new technologies are impacting this new workplace that we live in now, between being in office and, of course, being anywhere in between. I'm very, very flattered today to be hosting and doing this, and also having three great people here with me for our panel discussion. And I'm going to ask the gentlemen that are with me today to introduce themselves and to say a quick moment about who they are. My name, of course, is Eric Kaufman. I work for Jabra, and I'm the video channel development manager at Jabra, helping our customers and our partners understand more about our video portfolio and just helping us in the market here throughout Australia and New Zealand. So, Matt,
Perfect.
welcome.
Thanks, Eric. So my name's Matt Williams. I work for Australian Radio Network, or ARN. So we've got brands like KISS, Gold, Cater, and iHeart. So I've been with them for 9 months now, just come out of the mining industry before that.
Thanks, Matt.
Brilliant. Thank you. So my name is Carlo Andrucci. I'm from Microsoft. I'm a modern work specialist covering public sector.
And I'm Lee Edgerton. I'm the Asia lead for alliances with our hardware partners, our Teams Room hardware partners.
Thanks, guys. And we're really, really flattered to have all of you here, and especially Matt, from a customer perspective. We really appreciate you spending the time with us and sharing your thoughts and insights. So the guys and I discussed a few topics that we wanted to talk through today. So that's what we're going to address, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time at the end for some Q&A as well, if we want to, both from the online audience and or from those that are in the room. So first thing to talk about, guys, is we're looking at how many organizations today have been working in that hybrid mode now for a few years, thanks to the pandemic. But I'd like to know from each of your perspectives what changes that you've seen in how people collaborate and communicate and or create, like co-creation. So Matt, we'll start with you.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. I guess what I've seen is really the need on the technology team, or the expectations on the technology team, have increased tenfold. Video is key to allow us to work in a hybrid scenario. So without video, we wouldn't have been able to do what we've been able to do in the last 3 years. But it's been much easier to implement technology over the last 3 years as well, because people need it to work in a hybrid solution. So for me, the change piece has really been, it's been much easier to implement technology at pace, where we would have implemented something and it would have taken 2 years to do it. We've been able to do it in 3 months, because you don't necessarily have the requirement for the change management piece, the understanding of the requirements side of that, but people need it. So it has become a utility for our organisation.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. Carlo, from a Microsoft perspective?
So probably what we've seen is both audio and video being treated as priority number one and number two. And I think the notion of who the focal point is in meetings has changed from those that have been in the physical space that's owned by the organisation, to making it equitable for those that are actually on the other side. Because for the vast majority of organisations, even including public sector, they're still finding it extremely difficult to really get people back into the office.
Lee?
For me, it's been like funny. I was in a local team prior to 2020, and so our priority was always, what was the experience like in the room? How is it we can improve the experience of the people in the room? Throughout sort of the lockdowns and work from home, the experience was, how do we improve it at home? How did everyone can be heard better, can be seen better, etc. Now we're trying to figure out, how is it we can make everything better? How are we making decisions about hardware in the room that benefit those remote? How is it we are equipping those remote with technology that can make them seen and heard in the physical space? So it's very big shift over the last few years.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. And I think, definitely from a Jabra perspective, we're seeing, of course, the same things. And really, that's why we're looking at the products and developing the products that we are in the market right now. That's great. So what are some of the latest priorities that you guys and strategies that you guys are seeing, especially around technology requirements for that hybrid working world today? Like, what are some of the things that you are seeing that are being asked of, especially for you, Matt, and even in your previous roles that you've had, of from a technology standpoint, strategy standpoint?
Yeah, I guess what I've seen is user experience is key, and that consumerization of technology into the enterprise. So technology is becoming a fashion statement. Does it fit with me at home? So trying to make sure that works and being able to flip from work mode to home mode at lunchtime and use my work device to browse Google or go onto Facebook,
listen to music,
all of those kind of things. So it's making sure that, you know, the devices we give people are nice devices and they fit in with their home. Making sure headsets we give people they can use to listen to iHeart radio if they want to, but then flip back into a VC mode. So making sure that the devices we do give them have that consumer kind of feel to them, but enterprise grade.
Yeah, excellent. Arlo?
Look, from my perspective, the organisations that I work with have historically underspent in this area. They have gone for the most cheap and cheerful device because they wanted to just make sure they could tick a box. I think what they've realised now is that wasn't cutting it. And a lot of the time it wasn't certified either. So, you know, that again, they were just ticking that box. And now that we are absolutely, you know, having requirements to having good audio, good mics, and for video to be on because they want to see people and have that connection and build culture, even if they're hybrid. We're starting to see a significant investment in making sure, on the Microsoft side at least, it's a certified Teams headset, Teams camera, so they get the best experience because from an IT perspective, they're working harder than ever. And they don't want service desk then holding them up going, well, wait a minute, we're still having audio issues, we're still having headset issues because they're using just something they bought off eBay or AliExpress.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this probably a few times this week, but like one thing that we're trying to move customers toward is the historical. It's been, I have X amount of money and I have Y number of rooms. Get me the most number of Y that I can for X. Like that's been that's really been the approach. What we're trying to do and get sort of get partners and everyone, even customers, thinking about is, what is the room being used for? Great. Do you want to put the same camera in every room? Okay, well that might be cost effective, but is it effective for the meetings? Is it driving inclusivity in the room? Is it a remote attendees heard and seen? Is it a big enough display? All that sort of stuff. And even when you're considering what no tech rooms look like, those rooms that are potentially high use, but with no video enablement inside. The habit is that, well, that's designated no tech, so it's no tech. I think we've got to start asking the questions of what is it that you're using that room for, and how is it that we can make that experience better for the users?
Well, also, how can you make sure that even when people, even though they have technically said that was no technology, well, when you're utilizing that room, chances are you're going to have still somebody that needs to be remote, even in the sense of, you know, not because they just don't want to come in, maybe they're ill or they're out traveling and that's something, and that person that you need that's key to that co-creation experience still needs to be in there. So why wouldn't you have a facility in that space to allow that to happen? So those types of things are things that I think people are starting to consider a lot more than they ever did before. So which is great.
Yeah, great.
Something else when hearing all of you talk about was that now that people are coming in and out of that office and home environment so much, in both environments, ANC is so important around your audio because you've got all that exterior noise, and it's noise cancellation, of course, for that far end that you're talking to, of course, is critical, but also even for your own experience, you want to not be distracted by the things that are happening around you and have that then make you have a poor experience and deliver something poorly to the person you're talking to.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, Carlo mentioned the team certified piece around headsets and whatnot. The idea is that, I mean, my personal experience is you pick a fantastic pair of consumer grade headphones and you go, that's it, I'm all set up, ready to take my next Teams call. And in the first call, you can hear the kids screaming in the background, the dog barking, and it's not the best experience. So yeah, that's
exactly.
No, exactly right. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they just don't work with Teams that well. So yeah.
I guess the other thing too that comes to mind, of course, and I would be miss on saying this, is the camera. I mean, you know, no longer is the laptop camera enough. And the amount of time. So I travel from north of Newcastle down to Sydney a couple days of work each week. And when I come down now, I don't drive. I hate driving that long. You don't want to be stuck in traffic. So I drive to Newcastle, get on the train. And as I'm coming down on the train, I'm on meetings and I'm doing meetings, and I'll have my Jabra Panicast 20 up on my laptop. and I'll have my headset on and everything, and people don't have any idea where I am. And I'll often say, just to give you an idea of the kind of professional grade stuff I'm using today, let me drop my backdrop, and they see the train moving, they see people around me. Like I had a lovely group of older people on the train with me the last time I took it. They were off to some event, and I was telling them, don't cause any trouble, you all. But they realized I was on a meeting after a little while, and a couple of the ladies were like, "Oh my God, are we being too noisy?" And I said, "No, like no one can hear you at all, because I had the right technology around me to make sure that that didn't impact them either," which was cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Matt, for you specifically, one of the things that we wanted to have you share was how what has worked well in that hybrid working environment for ARN, and what are some of the key challenges now that you still face though with it? So
yeah, and I guess if we start talking technology aside, becoming a constructive culture within our organisation has been key in moving towards outcome based instead of hour based. So that's been really key in the last sort of 3 years for us. And then when you look at the technology that we've had to implement, it's making sure that it doesn't matter where someone sits, whether they're sitting in a meeting room, at a desk in the office, or at home, that they have a very similar experience. So we can bridge the gap between that. So that's really important for us.
Excellent. The next question for all three of you is AI. So, but seriously, I mean, everybody interprets AI and thinks of AI differently, of course, because it is such a massive change, and it is that next major revolution in the world, really. So, I guess, Matt, we will start with you. When you think of AI and how potentially it'll impact for you in collaboration, but also just in general across the ARN, what are some of your thoughts on that and what you see?
Yeah, so we've been doing a little bit of work in AI across our industry at the moment. So we've seen really good value in monitoring our DAB plus and streaming pieces. So for any issues with that, you play it through, you look for repeats, you look for dropouts, and you can become more proactive than you ever have been in the past. So that's been a really good use of AI for us. If you do listen to some of our stations, you would have heard our talent playing around with AI content. So trying to replicate them with AI, and it's not ready for that kind of stuff. But some of our talent has been able to trick their parents to think that they're speaking to them. But we don't think it's quite ready for that piece. But it'll be quite interesting in the near future to see what that does.
Excellent, Carlo, from a Microsoft standpoint and collaboration.
Oh, we've got nothing to share about AI.
No.
I should have used Copilot to summarize this for me.
Yeah.
So I'm probably one of the
You'll be able to in about a week.
Yeah, no. So I'm probably one of the only ones in the room that actually has access to Copilot and have had for some time. For me, it's absolutely changed the way I work.
I bet.
From summarizing my emails, so when I get involved in a long thread, I'm not there just reading, to becoming the best note taker ever in a Teams meeting. So everyone comes to me asking, "Hey, did you take notes?" And like, yeah, cool. Look at all the notes I took,
and look at all your actions. I got all your actions.
Hear all your actions. So when I look at that, it's probably made me anywhere from 10 to 30% more productive.
Yeah.
Meaning those back-to-back meetings, which we all hate, but is just a common part of life these days. I'm not missing things that I've made, commitments to my customers or to my partners or colleagues. So in a work sense, it's absolutely made a massive impact to me. And then I hope that means I'm there's more output without me actually having to do that extra work. I've got more time to really do the more important stuff and the menial tasks. I'm very grateful to say that Copilot does it for me.
Excellent. Lee?
Yeah, I mean, Carlo, there's so much to say about Copilot. But if you think about the meeting life cycle, right? Before the meeting, the planning, the setting up, during the meeting, the actually having and coming together, and then after the meeting, whether that's note summaries, follow up, etc. There's, really three distinct parts. Copilot and intelligent recap come in before and after, right? But it's critical that you get the middle bit right too. So ensuring that you have intelligent speakers, intelligent cameras in the meeting room allows things like IntelliFrame, for example, to attribute individuals to their own names, so that when these notes are generated, they're generated with Lee said this and Lee promised to do that. That's key. That's key. And so while, again, I come back to that instinct of what is the best that I can get for the least amount of money in those rooms, the preference should really be to drive the intelligent hardware in the room so that all this good AI goodness can be used before and after the meeting.
Excellent. And I guess the other thing to think about too is having, in the sense of the room itself and the equipment that's in the room, or even at home, having the right speakers, intelligent cameras to power that. So
yeah, I mean, I'll name drop it, like having the P50 in the room, right?
Thank you.
It is I mean, besides the fact that it gives an amazing experience and it sits really well in our signature room archetype, just the fact that it is one of the first devices to be attributed to, and even as an intelligent speaker and camera together, means that you install that and that's it. Like you are ready to go for. I mean, I don't want to call it AI ready. That's quite a sort of a coin term, but no, that's pretty much where you get to, right?
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So as far as like thinking about organizations now and how they can address productivity in the hybrid workplace, I mean, we kind of already highlighted some of that in the world that we live in now. But how about rebuilding social capital, re-recruiting, retaining staff, and re-energizing employees? What's your take on how all of this comes together to do that? So
I'll quickly, before I hand it over, I'll just quickly say that people want to work hybrid. When you're looking for your next role, it's very likely that if you want to work hybrid, you're looking for a role that is either marked as hybrid or you're indicating to the hiring manager at the time that you want to work hybrid. Currently, on average, it's like 2.3 days are spent working at home or remotely in every week. The time saved in all of that is actually going back to the company. So I think there's an incentive for businesses to start hiring hybrid, but the idea is that that's what individuals are wanting right now. They want to be able to work flexibly and the way that they want. And so I think that's key. I think if you're trying to build talent, you're trying to, I mean, I know that something that's come up a number of times this week is around sort of resource shortages in our industry. If you want to be able to offer and sort of attract the best talent, I think that's a big step.
Excellent. Thanks, Lee. Carlo?
I think from a organizational point of view, if I look at, yes, people do want to work hybrid, but you're going to have to make it worth coming into the office. Everyone over the last 3 years has set up their monitors, their displays. You can't beat the time to get to work when they're working from home. So you need to make sure you've got the right facilities in those organizational spaces. It's not just the meeting rooms. It's making sure you've got the right places in there for conducive meetings, those spontaneous catch-ups, because as we have seen over the last 3 years, people have been working from home for probably the vast majority. And now everyone's coming kind of back hybrid, but they're going, oh, wait a minute, the culture's changed. It's different. And that's because they're all sitting at home and they're not speaking to people. Culture is people. So we need to really work as an organization to make sure that the spaces that we are building in our offices are equitable. Makes the people on the other side just as part of the experience as those that are in the space. And really, we need to have that incentive. And it may just be making sure you've got the right cameras on each of your monitors, the right headsets, the right physical spaces for hybrid work.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and I guess I totally agree. We've been lucky enough. We're rebuilding our Sydney head office. We're moving from Macquarie Park to North Sydney, and a lot of the conversations have really been about user experience. What does the desk look like? What does the meeting look like? How do we bring people together? We're lucky enough to have a single space on one of the ground floors to ensure we all get together and sort of meet as a business. But I guess the desire or the move towards outcome based has been very critical for us, because where do you locate yourself for which outcome? So if you need to work on your own, work from home might be best. If you need to collaborate, come to work to do that. But make sure you've got an environment to do it.
I agree. I mean, definitely, as I've recently joined Jabra just 2 months ago, and one of the things I was looking for with all the companies I was entertaining, potentially looking at, not that there's a ton of them, but a few of them, was the ability to be able to still do this hybrid working world that I've been used to doing. And I think what's great about how it can re-energize employees and make employees feel even more valued is that if you do give them the ability to do that, and you instill in them and tell them, I'm trusting you to come in when I need you to come in, or when you need to come in, when you realize the business that you're working in needs you to come in, come in. And a couple of the interviews I had one company in particular was really nervous about how far away I lived from Sydney. And I said, you can actually physically ring my previous manager, and I promise you, he will tell you that I come in when I need to come in and when the business needs me to come in. And having that trust, I think, makes employees feel valued, made me feel valued. And there wasn't a hesitation with Jabra whenever I was talking. It shouldn't have been, because that's the business we're in, but there wasn't a hesitation. I didn't expect there to be, and it's been great. And the team, I think, already, some of them are sitting here right now. I think they would pretty much tell you that I do come in and they see me when they need to see me. And except for that guy over there, don't believe anything he says. But no, it's great to have that freedom and that flexibility. And I think that's what we need to see companies doing to keep talent, re-recruit talent. The younger generation is going to expect it as well, because they're used to having it. And it's great. Why not do that? Because you can then have people that are setting out somewhere that you didn't expect, adding so much value to your organization, reaching people on a new level, which is awesome. Matt, and the final question here for us before we move to the audience for a few questions, if anybody has some, what are some of the key things, though, that you would like to see the ARN doing going forward to help them, be even more successful in that hybrid working world?
Yeah, I guess for us, we've got a couple of things that we need to be mindful of, and I look outside of ARN for some of these things. Technology needs to co-collaborate, and what I mean by that is we deal with talent who want to use Zoom. We're a Microsoft shop. We might have one of our clients wanting to use another product. So we need to make sure that we can cross those, but still keep the experience the same for our employees. So yeah, that's pretty critical for us. Making sure we've got an environment. I guess we're an audio business and a creativity business, so we do need people to come in to co-create as well. So making sure we've got that balance, so it's not unfair for people that have to be there all the time. So our broadcast engineers are 24/7. They need to make sure that we stay on air. How can we support them when we offer hybrid to someone else as well? So making sure we keep that in mind is pretty important.
Yeah, and keeping that whole equality thing, in a sense, an equitable inclusive thing going. It's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I think that we had another company we've talked to on the stand here, Origin Energy, and they have people that are in the control rooms and they have to be there, so they can't necessarily work ever remote. So it's about how you improve their experience as well, and give the people that they do need to communicate with outside of the office the right experience too. So, and keep them happy. So, all right, excellent. Any questions from anybody in our group? For the panel. Thanks, Lee.
Just a quick one, I think. It's just something that sort of popped into my head over the last couple of days as I've listened to a lot of these talks, is that most of us have spent a fair bit of money on our home offices these last few years and very comfortable there, and we've got nice equipment. The majority of these big new features that we're expecting to help us, these AI features, are cloud-based, but require these are enhanced by a lot of these devices that are plugged into that and AI featured. And I'm just wondering, do you guys think organizations that are revisiting their design standards to try and level up in-office experiences to be equal or better than those home office experiences, do you think that them buying these devices that are more AI empowered are the key to getting that excitement level back in the office space, as opposed to, for a long time there was no way I'd want to come to the office when I had important meetings or presentations, because my home setup was just way too good for that. And I'm just talking about trying to level up that office experience to do that.
Yeah, and I guess that's quite challenging, and I can see as the young generation join the workforce, there is a need, and I'll keep talking about consumerization, but there's a need for them to use the technology that they've grown up with. And for an enterprise, that's really difficult, because how do you support all, like a Mac, a Windows, an iOS, an Android? But there's a need for, I guess, the industry to be able to do that, and then enterprises to be able to do that as well. So you can feel at home on your technology, whether you're at work or at home.
One of the pieces of feedback that we've had from some of our Copilot early access or customers is they didn't realize how important having an intelligent speaker in the room was until they've had people using Copilot, and the room said this, and the room's job is this, and but there were 6 people in the room because when we use things like intelligent recap as part of Teams Premium, majority of the people were actually joining remotely, and they were joining from their own PC. So we knew who they were. So yes, I do think organizations will start to click and go, okay, we need to invest. We may need to retool some of our rooms to have that AI capability in the room, because that makes it equitable for those in the office. Those at home, we need a certified headset and a certified camera, and they're good to go. We already know them as an individual. So yeah, I do think there will be some investment needed to really make it come to life. But we're already seeing that even outside the meeting space in terms of room booking or desk booking, making sure that we're using the right real estate effectively as too.
Yeah, I mean, you've said most of it, but I think just one thing I'd call out is technology's sort of been the point of friction in the meeting room most of the time. Somebody walks in there, like, whatever goes wrong, it's, oh, the camera isn't working or the screen isn't working. Like, it's always technology as the friction point in the room. I think these AI features, like you talk about active noise cancelling, that's an AI-powered feature that no one often, like the usual user may never interact with the setting to select the level of that, but they get the experience of it already. Being able to pull those features into the room, I mean, we're talking like spatial audio, IntelliFrame, like intelligent meeting recap's a good one, but all of these features, it's sort of like it's trying to make the technology go away. Like you've got the best of it in the room, but it's not the friction point anymore, right? And then all of a sudden, like people can book a meeting, go in, have the meeting, walk out, and they haven't had to think about it. It's just been a really simple and intuitive experience, and they can focus on the actual collaboration and the engagement and the doing the work, rather than 10 minutes trying to get a room started up in the morning.
I think it's, again, the whole aspect of being able to manage the rooms as well through these new tools that we have and the platforms that we have in the cloud in the background are key as well to that experience. That way, again, that user's not being impacted by anything negative when they walk into the room. That's excellent. Yep, go for it.
Yeah, so Net Promoter Score has been rolled out. I think I hit Lee up on this yesterday. No, I was wondering if somebody else does. So Net Promoter Score has been rolled out on Teams Room. I think it's randomly assigned to meeting rooms. If anyone new in the room, when it's going to be, I guess, non-random, and maybe you could put some controls around that as well. So for me, that's a really interesting way to measure quality of meetings, but also meeting effectiveness for businesses. So yeah, does anybody know?
So there needs to be a certain number of people in the room. It is going to be random for now, but there does need to be a minimum number of participants as part of that meeting. So I think the number was 5 or 6. But yeah, as an example, I join probably 10 or 12 meetings a day, and I might get it maybe 3 or 4 times. We get a lot of feedback from customers that they don't want to be bombarded with those kind of questions. Obviously, as an organization, you want the insights, yeah? So we are being selective based on quantity of people to make sure that we get a good capture size and not just do it for the one meeting here that's got 2 people, because they're going to be the ones that happen frequently through the day. And so we try to minimize interruption. But it's a good question. We will come back to you with any toggles for the organization.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting. Some good business intelligence. So if you can turn that on for 500 rooms, 50 rooms, and your Net Promoter Score is -50. Well, okay, something's going wrong. Our meetings are right. Not effective, right? It's something's probably not measured as much as it should be. So.
I think some of the other stats too that will come in the sense of people counting, knowing how much utilization is happening in the room, what kind of things, the things that we'll get from some of the back-end AI things that will be captured through intelligent speaker, intelligent camera, the proximity sensors and things will help us a lot too with that whole equation.
I just wanted to as well add that, like in the Pro Portal, I covered it a bit yesterday, but there's the AI functionality in the back end of the Pro Portal. Hopefully, that the stuff impacting the NPS in the rooms, whether it's hardware or downtime or loading or whatever, hopefully that's picked up proactively by these tools that you can go ahead and fix without having to wait for a week or 2 weeks of NPS scores. So I think it's both important, but yeah. I think that there's a couple of things, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Anyone wants to raise their hand? I keep forgetting I don't have that in my hand. Anyone online, if you want to raise your hand or just pop it in chat for me.
Sorry, I think we touched on it a little bit before, but with the obvious generational divide between the younger generation being much more au fait with technology than the older,
Then all parts like
yeah, there's a very how important do you think it is for businesses to actually get that balance of technology right to attract the younger generation and, more importantly, actually retain them once you've got them leveled up?
It's incredibly critical, I think. I definitely, when I talk to the younger generation through family, friends, and people that I just get to know through work and stuff, it's incredibly important. And if it's funny when I'm out on the road now too, I will ask people what they're using. I'll just proactively reach out to them and ask for their feedback on it, not just because I want to know, if they're not using Jabra, what they're using. Yeah, I do want to understand it, but I want to find out why they make those decisions and choices, and I want to hear from them. And I think the more we do that, the more we'll understand what that younger generation needs, and then we can map that into what we're doing collectively. And I think too, without addressing that, even the older generation then gets put behind, because the younger generation lead folks like myself into that new age. And when I think about some of the things I've like Chat GPT, we all talk about it. I didn't start using it until probably 3 or 4 months ago for the first time. And I was really nervous to actually allow myself to do it because too old school. I thought, I could write this on my own. I don't need somebody to write for me. And I realized after I started using it, it's not about that at all. It's about taking the content that you do draft organically and sharpening it and helping you put your best foot forward with whatever you might be putting out there. So, and there's no harm in that. There's no harm in doing that. And I think those of us in the older generations need to learn that and then let the younger generations lead us down that challenge. And they've got to have the right tools to do it. So,
yeah, I think I've banged on it about it the whole sort of session, but it's really important for the younger generation. They're video native, so it's not so much a concern around that piece, but the older generation, we're still struggling with people not wanting to turn their video on, not feeling comfortable in front of video. So those are the kind of things we need to make it easier. We need to, I guess, build a culture that it is okay to do that. And sometimes it's okay not to have your camera on, but how do you stay engaged when you don't have it on? So yeah, very important for us.
One thing I'll share is just consistency in what you invest in and deploy in your organization, whether it's the older generation or the younger generation. We look at some of the younger people that work at Microsoft as an example. If it's not a room that's set up with Teams, they're not going to use it because it's not that they can't or they don't want to, don't have to absolutely do. It's just a waste of their time. So they want something that works. And if you look at the older generation, they want consistency. If they want to be taught on something, teach me once, and then every room needs to be the same, or every headset should operate the same. So we've done a lot of work around making sure that the design between our MTR on Windows and Android is now starting to merge. You've started to see that already. And we continue to do work to make a consistent experience right across the platform.
Oh, I mean, you've covered most of it. I touched on it when I spoke about sort of technology fading away, that the solutions that we have now are just as simple as possible. We talk about, we have technical people, deeply technical people for these solutions, but the user experience is a single button that they press to join the meeting. That is incredibly helpful and empowers anybody. I mean, we're not even talking about age. It's anybody who can walk into a room at any point and press a button. I mean, this is even coming down to like C-level folks who are used to having a room set up the hour before by the AV team, ready to go for them to walk in. They are able to now walk in and just press join and the room works. Like that's where we're at. But I think there are some concerns, right? I mean, if you're talking about the personal workspace piece, and you said, P20, it's a much better solution than the built-in webcam. At home, you've got like all of the greatest team certified devices and whatnot. But I said, even at the Microsoft office in One Denison here, it's only less than 2 years old or so. But I have to use a webcam on my my tablet when I'm joining a call because they haven't thought about putting those cameras either on the desk or on the monitor or whatnot. It's little things like that that I think, particularly for those who prefer to be in the In many cases, that may be people older who are used to being in an office space, making sure they get the same experience. I think is really important.
I think it's like to embed that piece. Technology has become a utility now. So when they expect to turn on a light switch, light turns on. Walk into a room, it works. Log onto my computer, it works. Open Teams and it works. So there's a large expectation around that now too.
All right. Well, I think we're at time pretty much, unless anybody had one final question. All right. Well, I want to thank Matt, Carlo, and Lee very much for being here today. A round of applause. Especially Matt too, from your sharing a customer perspective is always so important. So thank you so much for that. And thanks to everybody for coming along, both online and in person, and enjoy the rest of Integrate. Have a great time. Please come down to the Jabra stand and see us. There's also one more slide here just on resources and things that are available from a partner standpoint from our friends at Microsoft. So again, thanks everybody for it. We've got some free headsets as well up here for you guys to take away from Jabra. So feel free to grab some of those if you would like one. And maybe even two if you want, so you've got plenty of them to share with other colleagues and stuff back at your office, or even if you've got folks at home, students, and that's really kids that might benefit from that, go for it. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.